Welcome everyone, I'm Pat Mitchell. Joined with me today, of course, is Adam. This is the truth behind the trade. We're going to go over a member's results in the trading clinics that we provide every day for free, included in membership in our afternoon or late morning session. What we do is we go through the Size Up app, which is our sizing protocol, and it tracks everything. And then we get to literally the truth behind the trade. Some people are generally having issues. This is a really unique episode where we're actually going to be going over someone where first impressions, they're killing it. And we've exposed some issues that need to be addressed, and she's going to address them. This is Heather's clinic. Heather's been a member for a while. She's such a sweet woman. I love Heather. And before we get into the actual, this is really interesting. I think you guys, we're just going to kick it right off here. Because we are a little pressed for time here this morning. So Heather hit me up yesterday, and she took one of these tests that maybe you see online, not like a shitty one, like an actual legitimate test from a legitimate company. It's called BrainCheck CQ. Now, I'm not going to share her results with you or anything like that. That's not my place to share. And I didn't, obviously, it's first thing early morning, or I'd hit her up and ask. It's like, hey, would you mind? Because I think there's something really interesting there. So going over her results, and it's like, I've spoken with Heather. We've talked back and forth, little bits here and there, obviously, through the time that she's been a member. This is a smart woman. She's successful in her own way. She's a good family woman, a very, very normal, typical woman, but I wouldn't even call her so much normal or typical. I would consider her well above average, not only with intelligence, but just the way she communicates and everything else. And you'll even hear when we start playing the clips in the trading clinic. Anyways, long story short, her results come in and basically say, in her words, she's retarded. And she had a laugh about it. Now, she did say she was a little distracted while taking this test, but because she was looking after her granddaughter was in the room or something like that. And the results come back, and it's not that it's low or average. And I showed Adam the curve. They show you these curves with a dot and where you fall on it. And she's way at the low, like clinically mentally disabled if you were to look at it like that. So I looked over the results, and I found it interesting that she can process complex instruction very well. She's a hair above average on that. Literally everything else was extremely low, like low percentile of the population. Now, immediately when I saw this, I'm like, no, I smell a rat. So what's going on with these tests? And Adam has a really nice analogy where he can chime in here in a second. Or an example, I should say. It's not an analogy, it's an example. And how most of these tests out there are designed, they're designed so then you freak out after you take the test, and then you got to go see a white coat, and then they're going to stuff pills down your throat. Because the things that she was lacking or extremely low, where if you were to look at that chart, you would be like, oh shit, I need to get on ADHD medication. That's what this shit is designed for. These tests are designed for you to freak out and go stuff your face with more fucking poison. Now, Heather is at an age where her cognitive function would be lower than what it was in her 20s. She's not 20 years old anymore. It's a completely natural, normal occurrence with humans. Now, with that said, there are things that you can do and you can supplement naturally and safely that will increase your cognitive function. Now, Adam and I and Jen are going to be doing an Ascension podcast here soon on the subject. And the stuff that is available upon your own research nowadays, it's mind-blowing. And this stuff, there's no side effects, or very little, not a side effect that would ever touch you. You would have to be like a 0.1% on the population. Even then, those studies still show that there's still no evidence of that side effect happening. It's just one of those things where there's a precursor in that could lead to. But the one thing I want to hammer home before we get into this trading clinic is be extremely cautious and careful, again, where you get your advice from. And it can seem like it's coming from the most reputable source out there. and it's bullshit. I smelled a rat as soon as I saw that. And Adam has a good little example of this.
Yeah, well, it's basically, and just comes down to our conversation about where we're getting our advice from, and uncovering things that get snuck into our life. And that test is, I think, a good example of where you're kind of lured into having somebody you don't know, a system you don't know that has its own agenda. It's which is profit, which in many cases is fine. It's acceptable. We need that to get people to do their job. But she's put into a situation where, she's going to have to go see some white coats, and they're not going to offer an alternative. Like, okay, well, here's a spectrum based on this test. This is what we would want to look for if it was truly authentic. Here's a spectrum of options for you to work with this. We have all the way over to the holistic homeopathy range, all the way over to this, but they're never going to offer that spectrum. It's going to be a very targeted, directed outcome that is planned in advance. And a perfect example of that is, I don't know if anyone's ever had their water tested, but when we took over this property, we got to do something with our water because we knew it was very heavy in rust. And so this guy comes out and he starts building the rapport, and starts talking about God, and, he's a religious man, and, because he's kind of reading our room. Yeah. He whips out this test, and he puts the water in the magic vial, and he shakes it. Oh, puts that down, puts another one in another test. It turns another color. And he's doing this big old magician dance in front of us, and we're like kind of rolling our eyes. And he's like, yeah, okay. Well, I see what you're doing here. You're putting together your property. You've got a lot of good things. So I'm really going to take some cuts here. And now it's a $5,000, $6,000 water system before you know it. And we're like, okay, thanks, bye. Because we had already done a lot of our own research, and we knew that our iron was heavy, and we even ordered our own water test kits. We were comparing about what he was saying. And so we already knew in advance where we were at and what we were looking for. And so he did not match at all what our research had indicated what we needed. And it was just a simple iron breaker for $500 or $600. And I went and did it and installed it. And it's been 2 years now, and our water's been perfect, absolutely perfect. Not to mention all of the adverse effects of that system that he wanted. He would have killed our water if we went with his system. It would have murdered the nutrients and the minerals and all the good stuff in it. And then we'd have an expensive system to maintain. So, that's just kind of an example of how we can get lured into things, and how important it is to really preload our situation with our own research.
See, I think in this day and age, a lot of people, like, we've all heard stories about way back when with like literal snake oil salesmen. That's where that term comes from. There were these salesmen that would go around selling these magic potions that didn't do anything, right, to fix any ailment that you had. Well, that goes on today, right? Mm-hmm. That's what's going on here. And a perfect example is what Adam just said with water testing. And another example is with Heather and her brain check. Be careful where and I'm so happy that Heather shared that with me. And she was just, she wasn't afraid to share it. She just shared it. And I've already given her my quick 2 cents on that. And then I'm going to talk to her some more because, like I said, I just looked at it this morning. And that's what it is. You go to their website and it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like that's what's going on. They want you to, there's definitely an agenda there. Mm-hmm. And it's not for your benefit. Like that's a thing. Like all of this stuff, it's not for your benefit. There's, they could be lacking something very simple. Let's say iron, because Adam mentioned iron. It could be something as simple as that, where now she's taking antidepressants or ADHD medication. Like those are hard drugs. People think because it comes from a doctor that it's safe and effective. It isn't. It's doing more harm than good, right? There's probably some other underlying root cause, just like we get down to in these videos about a person's trade, that goes along with your health as well. With that aside, let's get into Heather's truth behind the trade. And again, this is someone that at first glances is doing really, really well. And Kelvo does point out her equity curve, and you'll be able to see her equity curve. And her equity curve is a really nice, healthy balance of ups and downs. The ups are far bigger than any red day out there. It's a normal, natural progression up. It looks really good. And this takes me back to when I first started doing the mentoring live classes with my members. I would hold one-on-one sessions, and we would get in a group together on a Saturday morning, and I would go over people's trades or the issues that they thought they were having. And I always made them give me a good trade and a bad trade in their opinion, just kept it real simple. And generally, those two, by the end of it, would have been reversed. The good trade was in fact bad, and the bad trade was in fact good. The good trade is perceived to be good because it is a positive P&L. You are green on the trade, but there are so many mistakes there. And then the bad trade is perceived as bad from the trader because it is a red trade. But in fact, they did everything right. It was just a trade that simply didn't work, right? Like they executed properly. It failed. That happens. And if you actually understand what trading is about and you understand strategy, the actual meaning of strategy, trades like that will happen, right? So I always find that really interesting. And, I do have a product out there, the War Room psychology and technical series, where it goes over that. And that's not a sales pitch. That's just like, man, there is some really great information out there where I did go over that. And it's always, you could almost set your watch by it. The good trade was bad and the bad trade was good. It's super interesting, the perception of new and struggling traders. It's often flawed and reversed. So now let's start getting into some of these clips. Okay, so you can see Heather's equity curve on this, and it's obviously coming up very nice. There was one bigger red trade, but that still can happen. It's not like way out of whack or something like that. It's a really nice, healthy curve up. She's making money consistently, and let's rock and roll. Let's play this clip.
But you're not going to blow up your account.
You're not in the gut. Exactly.
The
you're not going to do any damage. You're not going to do any damage. Exactly. So looking at your equity curve and looking at how you're doing, generally speaking, it looks okay. Are there any major issues that you feel that you need to address? Because your winning trades don't seem too bad. Lots of $10, $12 gains, some smaller ones.
Yes.
Your losing trades look very controlled and reasonable. So how do you feel about your entries and your exits in general? We will dig into a few charts and have a look at them, but how do you feel they're going?
I feel like my entries are usually pretty good, but sometimes they get in but my exits are where my problem has been.
Okay, so I wanted to point that out, and that's what I wanted to put in there. I always like to get the trader's idea of what they feel where the issue is. And that kind of stems from what I just mentioned a couple minutes ago about those mentoring one-on-one sessions. It's generally opposite and not really the issue. So most traders, when they're new and struggling, they're taking a very first glance kind of view. When you look at a picture, if you were to look at a picture or a painting up on the wall, and you just turned your head into it and you took a 1 second glance and then you looked away, you might see a boat, right? It's some sort of nautical themed painting. But if you actually took a closer look, a 20-second look, a 1 minute look, a 2 minute look, instead of that 1 second look, you're not only going to see a boat, but you're going to see a boat that was dry docked, that's being worked on. It's not even in the water. So there's more of a story there, right? So that's why I like to give that view. So she's saying that, and at first glances, like Kelvin mentioned, everything seems to be going quite well. She's having, her wins are where they should be. Her losses are where they should be. Equity curve going up. Everything looks great. So let's continue here.
10 o'clock. So this was the mature head bump. So let's have a look at natural. And you did. And that was a good trade. Perfect entry. Very nice
exit.
exit.
Happy that day.
Yeah. That was a good trade.
Now I'm telling you, I was very tempted to sell on that second candle.
Yep.
And I thought, nope, I'm going to hold it.
Okay. Well, that's a good trade.
Okay, so I wanted to show you that Heather's trades when she is listening and executing and waiting, she's very disciplined. You can see that entry is a literal perfect entry. That sell is a perfect sell. You cannot get any better. Remember, in where she's at in the Trick Trades Size Up for Day Traders app, our sizing app, that's exactly where she should be. She's trading with one contract to expose the flaws in her game. That's why we do it like that. There's a reason why. There's a process to this. And at first glances, man, she's killing it. So when you start digging deeper and start looking to expose those issues, that's where the issues start coming up. But right now, I want to show you that that's a literally perfect trade. Paid herself exactly into target. She entered into the level. She paid herself into the target, which is phenomenal. So we'll keep going here.
To push into natural and then exit the trade. Because the difference in that would be, you could put a 1 in front of that, couldn't you? The difference in the trade, you can basically add $10 onto that.
And it looks like I waited to the very end of that candle. If I would have just not sold for one more second, I probably would have went up real nice.
Okay, so I wanted to point this out because a lot of traders face this. It's something that I've discussed in great detail. So a lot of traders where their mistake and they're this close to being, she's profitable in that trade. She made money on that trade. It's a very small trade, but she is still profitable. Where traders lack patience in that trade, if they're literally 1 second to 10 seconds away from really making money in that trade. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you're literally 10 seconds away, 1 minute away from success. Sometimes this is all we need to do to tweak as traders. And this is why I want to point this out. We're so close where once, and this is why Adam and I are drilling into you guys to start working on yourselves. This is where it shows. Patience doesn't just come. Like, I can tell you to be patient in your trades all I want, and that'll never come because I'm just saying it. You aren't acting on my words. This is where the personal process kind of takes over. You need to start developing discipline and patience in your day-to-day life, and then that translates into your trading life. Okay. A lot of you are literally this close, that close from success. Now, I'll tell you a real quick story. There was a member in the room, and he was a member for a very long time. Number one, and I didn't know this at the time, found out later on, he hid his trading from his wife. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, he was actually very consistent. So he had a very small account. He had one of those funded accounts when I used to recommend them. I do not recommend using those funded accounts. You need to stay away from them, especially if you are an American or Canadian citizen. You will not be able to get paid out on those. That's what they don't tell you. Okay. So anyways, that's a side note. So what he did is he had a very small account. He had a $700 account, which gave him $14,000 in buying power. So essentially a $14,000 account. He got that on a sale, which that only cost him $350. So all he's paid for this $14,000 trading account is $330, right? Now he worked that for a year. Actually, I think it was closer to a year and a half, to be honest, but we're going to call it a year just in case my timeline is out. So he worked that for a full year. He whittled that account down to 50%. Now, at first glances, that seems bad, right? Well, no, he never sized up and he was only trading very small size. So his commissions dropped him down to whittle that account down by half. But if you take that out of the equation, he was actually positive in all of his trades. He was a consistently profitable trader. He just needed to size up. Now, he never sized up because he was afraid to size up. He didn't work on himself and he was afraid to blow up. But the fact of the matter remains, he was a consistent trader. Okay. And he left, and he didn't just leave Trick Trades. He called me every name in the fucking book. I was a piece of shit and blah, blah, blah. He went on and on and on, called me every name in the book. And even after he did that, I tried reasoning with them. It's like, stop, listen, you're not getting it. You're actually a consistently profitable trader. You just need to size up. I can't do that for you. You need to do it, right? Like, you need to size up. You cannot just be trading, 100 shares, because at that time it was equity. Like, you're not going to make any money. You shouldn't be making any money. Just like these traders aren't going to make any money with one contract. And it still shows that they're still making hundreds of dollars over time. They need to size up. But a lot of traders don't realize that. And they get stuck in this loop in their minds that they're not understanding that these things need to be taken care of by the trader. A lot of people come into trading services expecting the mentor, the coach, or the service owner to do everything for them. We can only do so much, right? Like, I can't click those buttons for you. I can't make you size up. And that's why this Trick Trade Size Up app is working so well, because it puts people in little pockets, little brackets that then does tell them it's time to size up, right? So it's forcing people that naturally have that tendency to not want to make themselves uncomfortable, which is to size up. It makes them size up. But the whole thing out of this is working on yourself, right? Like, in Heather's example here, she's literally this close in that trade, and probably multiple trades. If you were to go through more of her trades, she's that close. She's 10 seconds away from freedom, man. And that's what it is. That's what it comes down to. So that was a really important clip where I know there's a lot of traders out there that have these issues. So let's continue. Okay, this is where it starts getting pretty juicy, and the lies start, not lies, but the truth starts getting exposed here with Heather.
Okay. So that's playing with fire. Would you not agree? We're playing with fire here. And if you keep playing with this fire, you're going to get very burned, aren't you?
Yes.
So the reason why Kelvo's saying that is a chase entry, and all she's trying to do in this trade is make money. She's entering, exiting. She's entering where she should absolutely not be entering. She's shorting or longing. I believe that is a short. I believe she's shorting a breakdown. If you are someone that is shorting breakdowns, that is not what we do at Trick Trades at all. If you short breakdowns, you will absolutely lose over time. That's why if you happen to be in a service right now where they short breakdowns or buy breakouts, you need to get the fuck out of there ASAP, immediately. That is a big no-no as a professional trader or a consistent trader. You'll never be consistent. You may make money, like it shows right here on Heather's page. She made money on this trade. That is not a good trade. And this is where it starts getting exposed. Her equity curve looks like she's doing very well at first glances, but when you dig deeper, these are the types of trades she is actually taking. So let's keep playing it.
Okay. So can you see how important it is that we go through these and we find out what you're doing wrong? Because to go back and look at your equity curve, it looks like you're doing everything right. This tells me you're doing everything right.
But it's not.
But the truth behind this tells me that you're not. You're taking some chances you shouldn't be taking. You're taking some trades you definitely should not be taking. And you're risking all that good work falling apart on you by doing something you shouldn't be doing, right?
Right.
The amount of risk in that trade is huge. When you short those breakdowns, and it's not even just about shorting breakdowns. There's a lot of setups that a lot of people take that will absolutely destroy you. And one thing right here, this starts to show the power of this Size Up app. Because we track everything in such great detail, and then we go over and do a trading clinic with each and every trader that signs up to do it. It's free with membership. It shows them exactly where they're going wrong. And the traders have access to all of their information in this app as well. So it shows them where they can start spotting the holes in their game as well. But if they don't know how to do that, we're there. We have that no trader left behind guarantee. So we're there to do these clinics to show these traders that at first glances, I know you think you're doing really well. Where this becomes an issue is when you start trading with size. That issue right there off of one contract, chasing that trade, it's not going to damage you, right? There's no major damage that can occur from a one contract trade. So she's getting away with it. Even if it was a loss, it would be like a $5 loss. She would immediately cut that trade, or a $2 loss. So it's not anything that's going to damage her, right? Now think about this when you start 10xing, right? When you start going 1,000% size, right? Or you start getting up to 10, 15 contracts, whatever it is, that damage now can happen. Sure, that win wouldn't be $5 or $10. That would probably, she would be making hundreds of dollars in a bad trade. And right there, that's the shit I see constantly. So many of you guys doing out there on social media and all these other so-called educators out there. That's why I'm so hard on them, because I see the trades that they're taking. This is how a professional looks at trades. They can see that the truth is right there in that trade. So I did a video years ago exposing, there's a really well-known, she's a well-known YouTuber and trader that's out there. She shared her entries, and that was the type of entries that I saw. And I did a video on that where I critique her trades and basically expose her for what she is. She's out there training traders. And this is where the damage happens, because new traders, not knowing any better, will look at that trade, see the green P&L and be, oh, I can do that. I can short that breakdown. I can buy that breakout. And yeah, I'll make money. Down the road, this is why so many traders fail out there. And this is why I get so pissed off with these fake professionals out there. They're nothing more than snake oil salesmen. They're trying to sell you blue sky. What they're doing is they're sharing their good trades, leaving the bad trades out. In their mind, the good and the bad, they're all bad because they've never been properly trained. And then they're passing that information onto you guys. And when you first come into trading, you can't spot the holes in that game like a professional can. And that's the problem I have. These types of issues, these types of trades that Heather is taking right now, they seem fine. Right now, it's fine. She's made money. What's the problem, Pat? Here's the fucking problem. Down the road, when she's trading with size, she will absolutely blow up her account. Now, there is a clip, and I don't know if I've played it or I'm about to play it, where she talks about at the beginning of her career, before the Size Up app, she was constantly blowing up accounts. Now she's not, because this is exposing, and she is picking up on the problems that she's having. But we can't, as struggling traders, pick up on every single detail. You can't do it on your own. I'm telling you, it takes a rare individual to do that. That's why so many traders fail. It's because you don't know what you don't know. It's something I say all the time. And if you really take a few minutes to think about that, it will soak in. You don't know what you don't know. If you don't know something, how can you come to that conclusion on your own? It's like never seeing a castle before at all. You don't even know what that means, what the word castle means. And I tell you to draw a castle. The fucking thing could look like a dinosaur. It could look like an airplane. If it's just like coming out of like, you have no idea, you have no reference for that castle, draw me a castle. You will not be able to do it. And that's what's going on. If you don't know what you don't know. And that's such an important thing to point out to traders, because I see this stuff all the time. And again, to bring it back to what I was just saying a couple minutes ago, it pisses me off to no end seeing all of these jokers out there that are fake professionals out there, fake consistent traders, showing traders how to trade. It's like the blind leading the blind. It's doing so much damage out there to the trading community that it pisses me off. It undermines the career that I love so much and I take so seriously. That's why it pisses me off, right? A lot of people will take these little rants that I go on about all these other people. If I wanted to, I would name them. It's not what this is about. Start looking at their trade entries. You guys now, after how many episodes of The Truth Behind the Trade, plus all of my trade recaps, if their entries and exits do not look like mine, they are not a professional trader. They are a fraud. And I'll tell you why. Not every trader needs to trade the exact same way, but those entries will always look the same. The strategy may be different. The trade plans might be different, but their entries should always look like mine. They should always. You can tell if somebody is buying support and selling into targets. All you have to do is just look at their trade entry chart. If they share it, and pull up that daily chart or that intraday chart, whatever chart that is on that day, look it up. It will expose them for what it is. And I took a lot of shit when I did that because she's a well-loved, right? It's a female. So of course you get all these fucking retarded guys out there that just fawn over her, right? And it's hilarious that people do that. It's such a marketing ploy. She's a YouTuber. She's not a trader. People need to stop doing that, and they need to start making that distinction where I may post videos on YouTube, but I'm not a fucking YouTuber. In fact, I hate that saying. I am not a YouTuber. I am a day trader. I am a professional trader that happens to post for your benefit on YouTube. So I know that was a little bit of a side note there and a side rant, but man, it really pisses me off seeing that because those are the types of entries that they're taking. And it's only going to damage you. And I'm not saying Heather's doing that. I'm just showing you those are the types of entries that you will see out there. And it's damaging, man. It's going to blow you up. So if your entries are looking like that and you're chasing just to make money, and we've all done it. I've done it. I'm not saying that I'm not guilty of it. I've done it. When at the beginning of my career, I did that shit too. And I quickly found out that ain't going to work long term because I'm someone that thinks long term. I'm not thinking today. I'm not thinking tomorrow. I'm thinking years ahead. And you have to think like that, especially as a trader. The stuff that you do now, if it's not benefiting you 10 years from now, cut it out of your life. Cut that shit out of your life because that's what you need to do. If it is not to your benefit down the road, not just today, not short term, get those horse blinders off. Start thinking further out ahead. If it is not going to benefit you in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, cut that shit out of your life because it is going to damage you. If you're thinking short term, like, man, I know I should be able to make, like, as it starts selling off, it's going to sell off that one more candle. And if I just hit it with 1,000 shares or 10 contracts, I know I'm going to be able to make money and I can get green on the day or I can make money on that day. Don't fucking do it. Those are habits that will destroy you in the end.
Well, right. So this trade real quick though, because what we see is, I'll just make an analogy here. You know, imagine like lies being like this big old raging fire where you've got, you lied about murdering someone, right? Yeah. Like really, really bad lie, big, massive flames. Someone like Heather, you know, there is no raging flames that you can spot from across the field or smoke you can see from another valley. You know, when someone's a really bad liar, you can see those people from
a mile away, 10 miles away.
From miles away, those big liars. But, you know, where we're at, and most of us in these conversations, we're generally not liars. And so we've got like a little campfire going maybe, you know, and then someone like Heather, well, you know, my impression, she doesn't even have a campfire. It's extinguished. You know, maybe she's done self-work. She's always been an honest person. Now you're down to just some embers that are glowing. You can only maybe see them in the night. But then you've got like a layer of ash. And then the embers are deeper down and they're harder to see. And you're only going to know they're there if you step on them and you burn your foot because there's no symptoms of the fire at all. And this is what we're seeing here in this trade is like, it's such a subtle lie that because it's still the trade was taken and we're talking like, you know, millimeters here of the difference between a truth and not truth. Yeah. And that's why we get into this realm where we can't see our own lies because they literally are hidden deep down. But the thing is, they're still like these coals of ember and it just takes like a little more pressure, a little air, a little of the right scenario, not one contract, but maybe 10 contracts. Yeah. And boom, now you've got a fire that you don't know where it came from. And you're doing all the things you shouldn't have done and you wait, as Kelvin likes to call the rabbit hole. And now you've blown up your account again. Yep. And that's why this stuff is so sneaky. We have to get it out of ourself at Wheelhouse One. And we have to go through these clinics and we have to really be digging in here like with a microscope because, you know, Pat, you're someone who extinguished all those. You like flat out extinguished them miraculously. And that's why you've been able to grow so fast. But we've all got these little self-deceptions going, oh, I don't see smoke. There's nothing here to burn the forest down. And don't be deceived. They're there in all of us. They're there. They're these little coals that are just waiting for the right environment to come out and just consume the little land that we're trying to grow and nourish into something that is our life. So when we'll see here in the next one, the embers start to show a little bit brighter and a little bit, if it's the one I think you're going to.
Yeah.
And you can see then in these examples, like, oh man, look how quickly that got out of control.
Yep.
Right. And so, and then the next one, which hopefully because she's doing clinics and she's doing self-work, it's never going to get there. She's going to be someone who will flat out extinguish the embers. And so they don't have a chance of coming back when you're least expecting it.
And I have no doubt in my mind that Heather is someone that will be able to extinguish. And I don't want to ever come off like and I talked about this yesterday, like I don't want to ever come off like I don't have those embers or it's not there. It's there.
Or you keep them under control.
I keep them under control.
That's the way to say it. Yeah.
Just like the other day, I'm looking as the market is chopping back and forth. And I know what the market is doing. The market is trying to make you make a mistake, right? They want you to make a million decisions first thing in the morning to wear you out to where, okay, fuck it, I'm just going to get in. And I catch myself 99.9% of the time. There's always that 0.1% chance that I don't catch it or I just say, fuck it. I'm not saying that I'm not, at risk. I'm at risk every single day, but you need to catch yourself. And that's all you need to do. And I know that sounds super easy, but it kind of is. When you notice that you're about to act on an impulse, catch yourself. Just catch yourself. You know, if you're an honest person at heart, you will catch yourself. You can catch yourself. You know when that lie is creeping in. You know when the bullshit is about to start. Catch yourself. That's all you got to do. Take your hand off that fucking mouse. Go, no, not today, man. I'm not falling for this shit today. You know, that's all you got to do. And there's a lot of people out there, because Heather is at that spectrum where it's just embers underneath a pile of ash. It's there and it will come out if you don't fully extinguish that. And we're going to get into a clip right now that shows you that those little embers, they can grow.
Okay, so I remember looking at this one earlier. This one definitely sticks out.
Yeah, that one I could have had a dirty loss on.
It's like the good, the bad, and the ugly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got good, we've got bad, and every now and again we get downright ugly. So you took a trade again, you took a head bump that you shouldn't have taken. The head bump was here. This is the one we were looking for, right? Yeah. This is the one we were looking for. This one was too early, wasn't mature enough. You were told by Pat to stay away from that at the time. He didn't like it.
Okay, so there is, during the day, there is explicit instruction given on screen share. There's some setups where in some cases, we would take that, right? What Kelvo's pointing at, there's some cases we would take that. Not on that day, okay? I needed it to, and my instruction, if I believe correctly, was to let it slice through that level, right? That you see, that first area, it slices through. I want it to pop back up, go back through the level, and then slice through again. We're looking for a test and a retest. We're looking for the market to prove weakness on that day. Sometimes you need to be really patient and sit back and let these things show you its hand of cards. You need to be shown by the market that it is go time. Okay, there are certain things that you need to wait for. And this is why it's so important having a mentor and a coach on your side, because if you don't, or you don't listen, in Heather's case, you're going to find yourself in a jackpot situation that is not a good jackpot. Okay.
But you took it. FOMO?
Probably. What date was this one?
This was the 31st, I believe. 31st of May. I remember this one very, very well. Majority of us let this go, let it come back, and then we took the second head bump.
Okay.
Okay. You took the first one, and then you had all this pain through here.
Yeah.
Point 110 down to 0.70. I don't know how red you would have been during that. I don't know. I'm not sure. Probably
Pretty red.
35, 40 bucks maybe.
That right there is about what, a 30, 40% loss, Adam?
Potentially, yeah.
Probably more.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there is the difference between listening and not listening. When you don't listen to the guy that's sitting in the seat, that's been down this road, that's giving you those trade plans, you're going to get yourself in situations because you're not going to be able to read that market correctly. Okay. This, again, why I know it sounds like so salesy and shit. It isn't. I'm trying to help you guys. There's certain situations that only experience knows. You cannot discount experience. And this is why it's so worth the money to pay for a coach, because they're going to keep you safe. That trade that Heather took that I warned against was exactly that much. You're looking at a 30, 40% loss with options. This is where people get really scared with options. This is why, because they're not entering correctly. Options, they're very easy to trade. And I don't want to scare you guys away from it by showing you that type of a loss, but it's possible if you don't listen. You know, let's continue actually playing, because I don't want to get to that thought yet.
Outside of your wheelhouse too. If I remember rightly, it broke by about 70 cents, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, we're playing with fire. It shows that you didn't panic. You didn't freak out down here, which I suppose is good. And you did give a chance to come back up again. But there's a lot of holding and hoping in here, isn't there? A lot, right? The fact that you didn't take this off into natural support, break even, is a bit worrying in itself. Your entry is an entry you shouldn't have taken. It comes down. You finally starts to come your way. This pushes down into support, but you're looking for more. It then gives you another candle here into natural support. You still didn't sell. You're still looking for more. You got lucky on this candle. The break support washes down and you got a good exit on that candle. But this could have gone, so you had an opportunity here to get out, almost break even.
So multiple opportunities for her to get break even or even make profit, and she was still looking for more. Now, before I continue, I just want to make it very clear. Heather still is doing very well. We've seen an example of her trades, and there's more examples of her trades where she's literally bang on. So what we're showing are just the areas that she needs to adjust to do even better. That's what it is. And a lot of people can take, again, what we say very wrongly. They can see it where it's like, or they'll just focus, like if Heather watches this, which she will, she'll focus just on the negative. And I don't want her to do that. That's not what this is about. She knows better than that. She knows how I operate. She's been a member long enough. So she knows not to just focus on that. She knows that these are just the holes in her game that need to be addressed. But I think it's really important to point out that, you know, a lot of traders, they, you know, at the beginning, they're looking at this where it is, but she's green. Who cares? Right? And the point that I wanted to make, that I stopped myself, this is why for the last 8 years on social media, and I've gotten my balls busted so many times where so many traders do not understand what I'm saying. Daily P&L doesn't mean shit. That equity curve doesn't mean shit. This is the stuff that I'm trying to show you. P&L, posting the P&L doesn't matter. Now, I do that for transparency because I never used to share my P&L. Because it doesn't matter. I know this through looking at trades. I've always posted my trade entries. That's what actually matters. But you get new traders out there that they don't know what they don't know, and you have to show them that, and then that captures their attention. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's such a double-edged sword. But this proves to you guys, without a shadow of a doubt, when you have people that don't post their entries, what they post is their P&L or a growth chart of their account, and that's all they post. They do not post their entries. You are missing 90% of that story. And you're never going to know if they actually know what the fuck they're doing or not. Do not fall for the trap of P&L. Do not fall for the trap of he's got a big account, she's got a big account. It means nothing. And if this doesn't prove it, because if you look at, again, Heather's account growth, and yeah, it's still a small account. She's building that, but that's off of one contract. Just look at the chart. If you saw somebody that was trying to sell you a course, that chart, but the numbers were bigger, you would be all over it. There's probably 80% of you watching this that would be all over it. Why? Because you're falling for the trap of P&L. You're falling for the look over here when what's really going on is down here. You're getting dazzled. That's what's going on. Daily P&L means absolutely nothing. It is about the entries. It is about the actual trade. That's what matters. And that's probably the most important takeaway from this. What do you got, Adam?
Well, I wanted to say a couple of things here. And it's just like, imagine like a baseball player or any professional athlete. But as a baseball player, when he goes out on home plate with his bat, swinging it around, thinking, I'm going to make $1 million.
Yeah.
Or that pitcher's going to swing and I'm going to make $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of athlete do you have there? You know, I'm going to get this ball. I'm going to throw the ball somewhere on the basketball court, and I'm going to make $1 million. He's not even going to hit the net, or not even hit he's going to hit someone in the head in the audience.
Yeah.
And, you know, a professional athlete is all about the skill. I'm going to connect the ball. I'm not going to just hit the ball. I'm going to put the ball over the right fielder because he's an idiot. I'm going to put this ball in the shortstop's face.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to put the ball where I want it. And that's the skill that makes the value of a professional athlete. They take control of the situation. They direct the situation where they want it. And that's what this is all about. And Wheelhouse One is understanding that we've got to be able to take the control of the situation and not let the situation control us, because we got our eyes on the prize.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just really put it this simple is if we're looking at the P&L, what kind of a professional athlete are we being? And then just like take your eyes off that. And it's like, I need to decide where I'm going to put this ball, because that's what's going to, then the money comes, you know, then you've got people wanting you to be on their team, and you're saying no to everybody instead of looking for a job. Yeah. So that's just one thing to really kind of maybe separate this whole idea of chasing money. Why Pat is trying to get it through to everybody is because you're never going to get anywhere.
No. Chasing
the contract. You know, it's like if all you're thinking about is the contract that you want to sign for your millions and your royalties, and you're going to be a Nike spokesperson, all that stuff, no one's going to know who you are. Can you pull up that chart that you just had? Is that still available? Okay, so right there, just highlight the place where her entry is there on that kind of second red candle down where she was trying to take the head bump right there. So that's the decision, right? So we've been talking, decision fatigue. So she made a decision to get into this. Now, she's taken a thought process she's entered into where she's making a whole bunch of decisions that shouldn't be even being made, right? Whereas if she waited for the proper entry, it's a whole different branch of decisions that should be being made. So this is a training exercise here. We're trying to get better. And so now this whole trade has been a thought process and a series of decisions in a negative realm. And so it's going to create more decision fatigue. You're fighting the trade. You're trying to get back green. You're trying to hold on. And these are all things that are going on in our brain that are connecting neurons and synapses and building our brain's way of thinking because we took action on it. Had she waited for the proper entry, the proper head bump, then that's a whole different series of decisions that would have been about managing that trade green correctly. And then that would have been a memory. Yeah. But so instead, there's a negative memory here that has to be reworked out, that has to be fixed, right? Because it happened. It's in the brain. And so these are the kinds of things when we are impatient and we act on impulses, we have to be so critically careful because now we've got an anti-skill right? Antimatter is like, it's the opposite of the skill we're trying so desperately to build. And when Pat is telling us to just sit and watch until we understand what's going on, it's preventing us from going into the underworld, where then we're going to have to go fix the stuff that we just put in there, right? Does that make sense? What I'm trying to get at, Pat, here? It's like, why we have to be so like just stubborn and careful, because you don't want to have to get this crap out because you just put it in there because we're careless, we were impatient, or we fell to decision fatigue. We should be in decision abundance, right? Yep. Oh, I'm paying myself here, I'm paying myself there. Oh, look at these ticks on this chart. That's the memories we want in our mind.
Yeah.
Not the stuff like, oh man, why did I do that?
That's exactly it. And you know, we've talked about decision fatigue quite a bit over the past couple of episodes, and you know, it's real, guys. You know, the episode that we just did last, we kind of went into a little more detail with it. So if you haven't seen that, go check that one out. It's the previous to this. And it's important that we do things correctly and precisely, so then you can perform properly, right? And that's what it boils down to. This is a performance career. This is performance based. This isn't like a regular job where you can, you know, whatever your regular job is, where it's like, if you're not feeling it on that day, you can kind of coast. You're not going to lose your job. You know, like you've had one day where it's like, you know what? I'm not doing fuck all today. I'm just going to collect a paycheck. This doesn't work that way. It is performance based. You need to be at optimal everything in order to get those results. Mm-hmm. And if you don't start thinking about these things ahead of time, down the road, and you know, there's another trader out there that it's just a matter of time before he blows up. I mean, he takes $1 million losses like a lot, way too often. You should never be taking $1 million loss as a retail trader. That's fucking retarded, flat out. But that's what will be exposed down the road. Mm-hmm. And anytime those $1 million losses happen, when you actually look at the trade he took, it's like, oh, that's literally, it's right there. How did you miss that? Because it was never addressed. It was never addressed in this stage of his game. And this is why it is so important, because if we are doing this for a professional career, this is what you're choosing to do with your life, just like you would choose to be a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher or a whatever. You're going to do that the rest of your life, right? You better make sure that you're going to be able to do it the rest of your life, because 10 years down the road, if you blow up and you have a real big fire and you fuck it all up, and there's lots of traders that have, you're done. You're done, man. And how do you explain that one to the wife? How do you do that? It's like, I just lost everything because I'm an idiot. Well, that's not an excuse. Now what are we going to do? Right? Like, do you know what I mean? And what, you're selling shit? You got to sell your house in order to what, fund another account? You think your wife's going to really be happy with that? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, this shit can snowball real quickly if you don't address this stuff now. If you have all the plan and the tools in place right now as a bare bones new trader, and you are working on all of these little flaws that you have, because we all have them and they all need to be addressed, even the small ones, those little embers that are underneath all that fucking, those coals, right? If you don't do that, that fire will grow. At some point, you're going to have a big fucking fire, and it's going to happen. I don't want to see people have success and then it gets taken away. How many times have you seen that? Someone that's super successful, and then they're just like, you see them 10 years down the road and they're fucked. Like, holy man. Could you imagine? Like, someone that is in that situation where it's like, I literally, and I know I say this, it probably pisses people off, I have a perfect life. There's nothing more that I could ever ask for or dream of. I am living a life that like so few people get to experience. And if there's nothing, because I've put these plans in place, there's nothing that would ever take that away. But let's say something happened that I didn't address years ago, and it got I got to go back to being a fucking welder after having all of this. That would be impossible. There's no fucking way, man. And that's what's going to happen. I've seen it happen to traders that get a taste of success and then it all gets taken away. Like, what a fucking shitty feeling. Like, these are the things that people need to think about now to scare the living shit out of them. Use fear as a motivator to get your shit together now. That's what needs to happen. So I think on that note, I'm going to wrap this one up. This was a hell of an episode. Make sure to share these, get the word out. Make sure to like, make sure to follow. Go to tricktrades.com if you just want to pull the trigger and come get coached by someone that knows what the hell they're doing, that can actually help you. We have an entry strategy, a risk strategy, and a sizing strategy that you guys are witnessing here. And we will then take the time to go through you, because we have that no trader left behind guarantee. Even if you are struggling, we are there. We want to make sure that you're going to be successful, because we are a team that actually gives a shit about your results. So on that note, folks, go to tricktrades.com. Adios, guys. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, everybody.